안녕하세요. Good to meet you guys. We have a very interesting panel here, and I think we have two extremely distinguished panelists specifically on technical changes around Bitcoin. So there's two ways I want to take this discussion. I want to start talking about a little bit about sort of the changes on Bitcoin itself that are allowing for more sophisticated DeFi and financial applications to be built, and then also outside of Bitcoin itself. So you're both from L2s, so obviously you have some relationships and experience here. So maybe just to start off, give you a short introduction, keep it as short as possible, don't shill your products too much, and we'll get started.
Hi everybody, I'm Kevin, and thanks so much. We are honored to be here, and I'm representing co-founder of BigLayer. Previously, I actually have launched a lot of blockchains, several blockchains with billions of TVLs, and we jumped into Bitcoin space in about 3 years before, and we are scaling. We have two tasks: one, scaling them to enhance the BTC's assets utility, and second, scaling the Bitcoin network. And I'm happy to share more.
And Radwan?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Redwan Ilkami. I'm always excited to be in Korea. First time was '97 when I had an interview with Samsung, and I wish I have actually got it. But too bad I made the wrong decision. Since then, I'm trying to make the right decision in my life because my name, as I said, is I'm a professor at the University of Toronto since 2011. Before that, I was a prof at the University of Iowa. I started working on blockchain since 2014. Proud to say I opened the first course in blockchain at the University of Toronto, joined with the math department. I'm at the finance department, and we opened it in 2015. Stopped in 2017 in the ICO bubble, and because they didn't want a bad reputation, they regret it since then, but I didn't because I stick to it, and I'm a big fan of what we are trying to do right now. We are in, compared to my speaker who found many things, I didn't. This is basically the second. The first time I was more of a consultant, but this time I'm more hands-on, working on one project and only one, which I think we're really excited about it. And it's a project called GOAT, and it's a layer 2 project, and we hope we're going to have time to explain what do we do, why it's needed, why it's important, and why it's adding value to the community, at the same time adding value to Bitcoin itself.
Thank you. So maybe before we get started on L2s itself, maybe let's talk a little bit about the technical changes that have been happening around Bitcoin and on Bitcoin itself. So I'm thinking, BitVM, OPCat, things like this, and obviously the schisms that have historically happened around changes to the Bitcoin core layer. So obviously we had the block sort of space wars, ended up with Bitcoin Cash, hard forks, etc. Can you just walk us through sort of how you guys are utilizing things like BitVM and even OPCat in your own systems?
Yeah, in our mind, actually, people are expecting more from Bitcoin L1s. Previously, Bitcoin L1 is just store of value or just transform electricity into coin. And then in 2023, people found that actually Bitcoin also can be a platform to issue tokens. That's the inscription, BRC20 and Ordinals, all these platform, all these protocols, they actually issuing proof that Bitcoin can issue tokens, and then people want more, and people want to do more with their Bitcoin. So and influenced by the Ethereum's movement to layer 2, so the low-up model have been borrowed from the Ethereum vault. So with the blow-up model, we can do a lot of things like the real Bitcoin layer 2. That means these derive the big VM, as you mentioned, it is actually a verification components or just a Bitcoin optimistic rollup on Bitcoin. So this is based on this tag. We actually have a lot of application scenarios. First, the Bitcoin bridge, and then Bitcoin node up, and third is the Bitcoin vault, which is developed by the new protocols. So to conclude, people are expecting more, and the community are evolving from a store of value platform to token issue platform, and then a verification platform, which will be a settlement layer for the L2s.
Anything to add on this, Ridwan?
He already kind of touched on the majority of the things, which I will agree with the speaker. Basically, just so that people, maybe in the audience, because you jump in directly, BitVM2 or OpCAD, the question is mainly, if you go to the bank today, I don't think you go inside and ask them, do you use Java or use HTML? What type of vault do you really use it? The question is, what type really of vault, what type of technology? I just want you to kind of understand the main question here that is asked is really important. It's extremely important, but I just want you to frame it. We have Bitcoin or other securities, you want to use it. To use it, you want to make sure it's actually secure. Security is the question the gentleman is asking. How do you going to think of that? What type of security you're thinking about? And BitVM is one option among some. We happen to believe that BitVM 1 was too expensive, wasn't interesting. BitVM 2 was really interesting. BitVM 3 still shady. I spent some time reading this paper and refereeing them. BitVM 2, think about it, is this option that was this possibility now that will allow us to do an L2 without losing much on the security of BitVM, of Bitcoin. It means what we are trying to talk about is, in order for you to use your Bitcoin, how much secure you feel about moving it and trading it and using it in different apps. I want you to imagine this. You have Bitcoin already and you want to make sure to use it. I'm not saying use all your Bitcoin, but any portfolio allocation exercise comes from using some of your Bitcoins. If you have 100, you want to use 5, you want to use 20, what are you going to do? You're going to keep it in L1 and generate no return, or you want to move to the L2s and generate returns? And here you have an option. Do I go to a side chain, and that I'm losing in security, and in that case, you can do whatever you want with your money. But if you go to a side chain, maybe you're going to ask for double-digit or more returns if you actually want to be compensated for the risk. BitVM is one option that allows us to do the bridge, the verification, which actually a very good methodology, which we implemented. I think the gentlemen speak about it. That's why I didn't want to repeat the whole discussion. We are not on the OpCAD team. We are not in the other type of Collide VM and the other things. We're focusing on implementation of BitVM. Go try to be adaptive in a sense that if tomorrow somebody in Korea from KAIST or from SKK comes up and say, I have something new called Cuckoo VM. And it turns out to be that Cuckoo VM is better than BitVM, we will jump in, we will read the paper, we'll try to implement Cuckoo VM. So far, we're BitVM VM2, we're implementing it and we're exploring with 3, but we're open to be adaptive to new solutions. Just to compliment my friend.
No, that's perfect. Perfect framing. And I think, as you mentioned, historically, if people wanted to take risk with the Bitcoins, they can already do that. You can wrap it, and you're taking custodial risks. And I think there's a limit to that, right? I think, what do we have on wrap BTC, a couple of billion, and you're taking the risk on smart contracts on a different chain, and there's a bunch of risk associated with that. So the idea is that, or what you two are working on is that you're building essentially a more secure place to gain yield. Can you just talk through sort of the changes that you're making on the Bitcoin L2 to make sure that it actually is a secure place for people to come? Because if it's not secure, I don't think the larger holders, especially institutions, are going to come there.
Correct. I agree. I think the idea here is to be sustainable yield for your Bitcoin. If you want to make sustainable yield, and you want to make what we call risk-adjusted return. If you want to take a little bit more risk, you make more return, take less risk, like less returns. This is what we are trying to work with. The friend that you have on the right is my competitor if you talk about it, but it doesn't matter. You can have JP Morgan Bank and you have Goldman Sachs Bank. It doesn't really matter. You have an asset manager here, an asset manager there. Competition creates value, and we learn from each other, and definitely this competition is going to create better value for Bitcoin itself. Because Bitcoin needs Bitcoin L2, not just L2 needs L1, which is the fees and all that discussion we can get into.
Yeah, to add more information here, actually I see we are co-workers to push Bitcoin back to on-chain again. because we think Bitcoin for now is isolated in the solo chain that can do nothing about it. And what we need to do is the activities or financial activities around Bitcoin always exist since day one, like the trading pairs in central exchange and the protection and derivatives and the Bitcoin lendings. All this business actually happens always all along these years. What we need to do is push these activities on chain again, and with this demand, we need a programmable environment, and which is not a side chain, and which is a trust minimized or trustless environments that can make sure that the ultimate on-chain will come one day.
Yeah, just to frame it a bit more, I guess, like if you want BTC yield today, you could just go to a Galaxy, for example, and they'll run like a loan book, and that's a possible way to get sort of some yield on it. But obviously, it's not on-chain; it's happening off-chain and off-chain books. Maybe on this point specifically, I think historically, you kind of mentioned a little bit, Bitcoin has more been a store value. It's not really a currency. It's not a great place to actually transact on because it's so slow, and we have sort of non-deterministic finality on Bitcoin itself. But could you just talk a little about where you see Bitcoin going as an asset? Is it going to be a productive asset? Do you think it's going to be used as a currency? Is it just a store value like gold? Can you just walk me through a little bit like how you view Bitcoin as an asset, sort of developing on top of L2s?
Yeah. For us, you mentioned yield. Actually, it's really important to persuade people put their Bitcoin on chain because for us, we have a product called YBTC. We have about 5,000 BTC on chain for now, and the use sources mainly come from trading, all kind of trading like the basis trading and other and arbitrage trading, and other part is the incentive from the new ecosystem like the blockchains and the protocols. These combining together. We can do it about more than 5% for the liquidity providers. This is kind of stable, kind of sustainability, and if people claim more, maybe people need to consider a little bit.
Okay, but I'll talk about what we do. But your question was more of how do we consider Bitcoin these days? I think for me. It's the idea of digital gold is well established, except we're now using it almost just as gold, because there is a difference. We keep calling digital gold, but the word digital has not been used enough. We just basically people keep it, they store it, they hope for appreciation, and they want to sell it when they appreciate. Same thing as gold. Gold took 5,000 years to create a network effect, and everybody believe in it. Now Bitcoin have had this magic network effect very quickly. Institutions get into it, everybody's getting into it, and we establish a network effect that is solid, and it means the ability to think about it as gold is well established. The ability to think about it as digital, this is what we're really trying to do, is because it's digital, actually we can use it to generate yield. Because if it was just gold, you don't generate yield based on gold. But because it's digital, the idea is, could we leverage the digital nature of Bitcoin to basically create some value with it? For gold, the source of yield is many. One is operational source, which is a proof of stake. We are a decentralized network. And the decentralized network, basically, if you bring in your Bitcoin and you want to make some money, simply for everybody here, if you don't want to take any risk, you want to stay in L1, you're still going to make a very minor return because you're going to provide some kind of call it some liquidity at some point. If you want to take some risk and move to L2, then you have a choice to make money, or you call it sustainable yield. Yield just a stand for returns, depend on how much risk you're really willing to take. If you're only going to stake, you're going to generate whatever the stakers is making, and you share that revenue from the stakers. And because it's a decentralized network, competition creates value. If one sequencer is not giving you enough, you're going to jump into the next sequencers, and that creates value so that you can get more returns. If you want to take a little bit more risk, you're going to take that and go to different application. It means the general idea that we try to develop is simple. We're trying to say that Bitcoin has a chance to use its digital nature to make money. And to make money, you have multiple sources to make money. One is to provide security itself, and one is to provide liquidity. One, it could be to provide a term structure of interest rate, which we can talk about if we have time, and other application. It means this is really what GOAT stands for. It's a Bitcoin layer 2 that is giving you the chance to make money that is reasonable compared to how much risk you're willing to take.
What kind of actors are these then? So what actors are willing to take this risk specifically?
Actually, that's a very good question, because this is what I talk about, heterogeneity of investors. If I'm an institution and I don't want to take any risk to move to L2, I'll stay in L1, that's one actor. If you're a player, if you're somebody who want to provide liquidity, you said it, your option in the past was what? To do a wrapped BTC, wrapped BTC started around 2019, 2018, if I recall correctly. And since then, it didn't pick up. Why? Because now you wrap it, you send it somewhere else, you don't even know what risk it is somewhere else. Now, if you are the person who willing to do that, then basically that person is willing to move to the L2s and basically not just provide security, but also provide some liquidity providers and something else. And now they should expect a double-digit returns or high-end one-digit return. It means heterogeneous investors taking different risk, making different returns. It means when you go to the GOAT right now, you're going to see play and earn. You click on earn, you're going to see 4 buckets. Do you want to stay in L1? You want to move to L2? If you move to L2, what type of risk profile you are? If you're in this risk profile, this is how much you're going to make.
So from both of your perspective, these security risks you're highlighting again and again, like how are you solving these specifically on BitLayer and then on GOAT, vice versa?
How do we solve what exactly?
The security risks that you keep mentioning, right?
Yeah, our way is make sure Bitcoin DeFi or Bitcoin financial demands happen everywhere, including Solana, Ethereum, Sui, and all these popular blockchains, and where the place can provide you, the YBTC should go there. We don't limit it, the YBTC in BitLayer network. We don't do this, and what we back to your question, what we try to do is the wrapping system itself. We make it trust minimized through BigVM, and to replace the existing or the previous one you mentioned, WBTC. Actually, they are M2, they are TFN multisig, and maybe you have to trust the institution or the wrapping system behind that will give you back the BTC if you want. But with our new system based on BigVM, actually you don't need to trust anyone. You just trust the code, trust the system. That's all. And what we need to do is protect, make sure this system follow the whole protocol of the BigVM2 or BigVM3 protocol, and then let this BTC, YBTC flow to any blockchain that need it. Yeah, this is our policy.
Wait, so just to, sometimes it's difficult to have a speaker like him because he mentioned everything I want to mention, and now I have to think of something else. That's
next question, you go first.
No, I think it's good to have somebody to complement. Whatever he said, I agree. We use BitVM too, but just to frame it again for the audience, maybe that's the question is about security, and I just want to make sure that the audience understand that this is not a simple task. First, there is multiple solutions. Multi-sig was in the past. You mentioned it was a multi-sig. Do you trust the multi-sig? Maybe not. That's why we had to move from the multi-sig idea. There is the OpCAD idea. What is OpCAD idea? Changing the code itself of BitVM. I can tell you this has already died, in my view. Now, some people may hate me for this, but let me tell you why. Institutions are already in Bitcoin right now. You're going to come later and announce that you're going to change something in Bitcoin, you're going to lose a lot of trust in Bitcoin. In fact, OpCAD existed. If you actually go back, if you happen to read, you're going to see that many of this sophisticated code existed even by it was cancelled. It's not like it didn't have it. It was actually cancelled before. It's not like we didn't have it and now we wanted to have it. It means the OPCAD is dead. You can talk also about Collide VM. You can talk about other ones. We have tried these, and we agree, and actually I never met the gentleman before, first time. We agree that BitVM, when we read the paper, basically even I never talked to him, I will assume when he read the paper, automatically it's kick in. This is a good approach that we need to jump on it. The problem with BitVM was too expensive. To provide you security, gentlemen in the audience here, if you're gonna give me money and I want to generate yield, well, it's costing me so much. How much should I give you? Nothing. Because it cost me so much to keep the security. What happened with BitVM2, things start being different. Because BitVM2 was an extension of BitVM, and we apply some economic thinking into it so that we make the security at an efficient cost. In order to give sustainable yield, 101 economics, sustainable yield comes from what? From sustainable profit, meaning you need to have sustainable revenue, and you need to have what? Lower cost of security. Means we have chosen BitVM2 and our implementation of BitVM2 to manage the cost of security without jeopardizing security. And by doing that, we can finally give yield to people. It means the idea is not like we just jump in on one solution. There are at least 5, 6, and it happens to be independently is choosing this one. Of course, we have different implementation for sure. And we have different views on decentralization. GOAT is a decentralized network that is actually believing in BitVM2 or BitVM3 later. But I want to always keep my users, at least think about me on this one. We are trying to be adaptive, meaning if there is a new solutions tomorrow, we may jump on it. We're
but security first.
Huh?
But security first, always.
Security first. I can even tell you, given my age, that the best solution are not even here yet. BitVM2 now is good. BitVM3 come up, but it was some kind of issues in it. And then maybe something else will come up that is good. If you're not nimble, if you're not adaptive as a scientist, actually, you're going to lose this race. That's what I think.
Perfect. Well, I think that's all for today, and thank you so much for listening in. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That was a pleasure.